Hello and welcome to another Be.Tech.Construction lecture online tutorial. This is Mental Wellbeing in Construction, a series of lectures that I'm doing of how building design can affect mental health. It's based on this book, Happy by Design, which was actually written by an architect called Ben Shannon. He's written a guide to architecture and how it can affect mental well-being. Each chapter of his book is going to have a lecture, a micro lecture, and the first one is on light. So lighting, how light in our building designs can affect people's mental health within the building. And of course we have two different kinds of light. We have natural light and we have artificial light. So in this lecture we'll look at how light interacts with our mental well-being. We will be considering how we can plan the lighting at the design stage to avoid negative impact on people's mental well-being, and lighting that actually promotes positive mental health. So if we think about natural light, it's well known to impact on human happiness. It's known that people who live in countries with more sun live less stressful lives, and people who work in offices with less natural light don't sleep as well as people in offices with plenty of natural daylight. Daylight helps regulate the body clock as well. So part of our evolution, we know when it's daytime, we know when it's nighttime, and so if you don't have that natural daylight coming into an office space where somebody's working, then that could mess with their body clock. So when designing a building, it's incredibly important to consider the quantity and quality of natural daylight that will be entering the building. It's all about finding balance though. You could have far too much light coming in, causing glare off of your workforce's computer screens. You also need to consider heat gains and losses. So using glass, sometimes you get that greenhouse effect of heat building up if it's a particularly hot day outside, and perhaps in the winter you might be losing too much heat through that glass if you use too much. And glazing can be an expensive material to go for as well. It can be quite an expensive option. So those are the kind of things you need to consider at the design stage. If we look at how the sun moves throughout the year, we need to consider that it's going to be in different places at different times of the day and different times of the year. So remember, the sun moves throughout the day. Different areas of your building will receive different amounts of sunlight at different times of the day, at different times of the year. So in the winter it's going to be very low in the sky, in the summer it's going to be higher. With careful planning, you could use knowledge of the sun's movements to your advantage at the design stage. In the northern hemisphere, the south face of the building will receive the most sunlight, especially in winter when the sun is low. But remember, again, you can have too much of a good thing. Think about those heat gains and those heat losses. When planning the location of your building, remember to consider the surrounding features that will cast shadows on your building. So there could be objects around the building or actually part of the building itself. Things like neighbouring buildings, trees, other objects, and like I just mentioned, the own shape of your building that's actually casting shadow on other areas of the building and stopping that natural daylight getting into certain areas. So you can see in the image that's just popped up, that tree there is casting a shadow over a couple of the windows. So you're not going to be getting natural daylight into those areas at a particular time of the day. So it's best to think about all these things and the sun's movements at the planning stage, the design stage. So think about the depth of your rooms. Will the sunlight make it to the back of the room, or will objects inside your room be reflecting light back out the window? So in the scenario, you can see the little red area. The sunlight's not going to be making it to the back of that room because it's too deep and you've got objects in the room reflecting the natural daylight back out the window. So making rooms taller and or shallower might be an option, but it's something to consider. Let's move on to artificial lights. Although natural light is important, the use of artificial light is also crucial and can be used in ways that are beneficial to mental well-being. Anti-glare lighting can be useful, and you can even have lighting control now. So give individuals the technology to adjust their immediate lighting to suit their needs. People have a better mental feeling if they feel like they're in control of their environment, if they're in control, if they're in the driver's seat, per se. So we can give them the technology to control their immediate lighting environment. If we can do that, then that's what we should be doing. Don't forget artificial lights though generate heat, so remember this when designing and think about how this could affect someone's well-being. It's often useful to make sure areas are brightly lit, and there can be lights that replicate sunlight. So if it is going to be difficult to get the sunlight into the centre areas of a room or the back areas of a room that are going to be quite dim, we can actually use lights that replicate sunlight now. That could be an option, using artificial light that replicates the sun. Don't overlook creating dimmer areas where staff can sit and relax during time to take a break and a rest from their work. So once again, you can add control to the lighting system so the artificial light can be what you need it to be when you need it to be. Again, people have a better mental well-being if they feel like they're in control of their immediate environment. And that is the end of the first sort of micro lecture on this topic. The next one will be on comfort.